Stop. Don't move. And for God's sake, stop looking outside for what you've spent too much time ignoring within. Look at you. You clicked here because you saw a promise of time. 21 seconds. Your rational mind, that little crumb counter, is addicted to shortcuts. You want the quick fix, easy money, instant love. You want the world to change so that finally you can feel safe. But I'm going to tell you the truth. No one has the courage to say the world out there doesn't care about your desires. The world out there is a corpse. It's dead wood. It's just an echo of past screams you silently uttered. Do you want a miracle in 24 hours? Then you need to understand who's in charge. It's not fate, it's not luck, and it's certainly not me. It's you. But not that small, frightened you who wakes up every day checking your bank balance or waiting for a message on your phone. I'm talking about the immortal being sleeping within your chest while you play the victim. I'm not here to give you a trick to fix your life. I'm here to give you the key to escape the prison you built yourself. 21 seconds is more than enough time to die to the old man and be reborn as the king or queen you are. The question isn't whether the law works. The law never fails. It's as unyielding as gravity. The question is, do you have the courage to silence your senses, ignore reason, and dare to assume you already are what you desire to be? If you're looking for entertainment, leave. But if you're ready to command chaos to obey your imagination, then take a deep breath, close the door to the world, and listen with your soul. What we're about to do isn't an attempt, it's a decree. Listen closely, because what I'm about to say goes against everything your desperate ego wants to do. The first law for manifesting anything in this universe, especially when seeking a radical transformation in 24 hours, is absolute silence. The biblical instruction isn't an etiquette suggestion. It's a metaphysical life or death command. See that you tell no one. Have you ever stopped to wonder why this command is given so many times in the scriptures after a miracle? It's not for modesty. It's for energy preservation. Understand the mechanics of your soul. Desire, when born in your heart, is like high-pressure steam. It's a pure, raw, creative force seeking a form to express itself in the physical world. For this steam to move the locomotive of your life and pull heavy reality onto new tracks, it needs to be contained. It needs compression. What do you do when you rush to tell your friend, your partner, or post on social media what you will do or what you are manifesting? You open the valve, you let the steam escape. You relieve the internal tension that was necessary to mold the miracle, and suddenly you feel empty. You traded the realization of your desire for the momentary relief of talking about it. Why this childish need to babble? I'll tell you the raw truth. You speak because you don't believe. Deep down, you're seeking permission. You're begging for external validation. When you say, "I'm going to be rich," or "I'm going to be healed," to another, you're secretly asking, "Do you think I can? Do you agree with me?" And the moment you seek confirmation in the eyes of another human being, you have just denied the power of God within you. You have transferred the authority of the Creator to the creature. If the other person doubts, you crumble. If the other person ridicules, you fill with shame. And even if the other person supports you, you've dissipated the sacred energy of the secret. The womb of creation is dark and silent. A seed, to germinate, needs to be buried in the darkness of the earth, away from everyone's eyes, compacted by the soil. If you unearth the seed every hour to show the neighbors, it dies. Your desire is that seed. Learn to carry your desire as a precious and terrible secret. There's a colossal power in walking among ordinary people, knowing something they don't. Walk down the street, do your job, dine with your family, but keep the silent roar of your new reality within you. Feel the satisfaction of knowing that it is done, and that no one needs to know until it becomes so obvious they can't ignore it. Shut your mouth. Seal your lips. Let the internal pressure build until the explosion of realization is inevitable. If you can't control your own tongue, how do you expect to control reality? Silence. The miracle grows in silence. Before we move on to the next point, let me tell you something that can greatly accelerate your transformation. There's powerful, straight-to-the-point material that has changed many people's lives. It shows in a practical and structured way how to use visualization and the law of attraction to shift from waiting mode to manifesting mode. You will learn to align your thoughts, emotions, and actions to attract exactly what you desire, whether it's more financial freedom, healthy relationships, or a life with more purpose and lightness. It's not loose theory or empty motivational talk. It's real application with real results. If you feel it's time to stop merely dreaming and finally start living what you deserve, this could be your next step. The link is in the pinned comment. Click, explore, and see what has already begun to happen in the lives of those who truly committed. Now then, let's move on to the next point. Now we come to the heart of the absurdity you call time. You believe that to move a mountain you need to push it for years, or that to convince God to give you something, you need to wear him out with hours of monotonous repetition. Fools, you treat the Creator as if he were deaf or had a short memory. Let me be brutally clear. The duration of your spiritual practice is worthless. What counts is the intensity of your conviction. A single second of absolute fervent living faith is worth more than 100 years of lukewarm prayers made out of habit. This is where your 21 seconds come in. Make no mistake, we're not talking about a magical lucky number. We're talking about the compression of eternity. The Spirit does not dwell in linear time, it dwells in the now. When you close your eyes to perform this act, you're not trying to attract something far away. You are collapsing time. You are bringing the future and the present to the same point, until they collide and merge. It is an act of spiritual violence, for it is written that the kingdom of heaven is taken by force, and the violent lay hold of it. Violence not against others, but against the lethargy of your own disbelief. In these brief seconds, you must suspend the judgment of your senses. The physical world must cease to exist. The chair you sit on, the street noise, the bills on the table, all of it must die. And in the vacuum of that silence, you bring forth a single sensation, clear, vivid, and undeniable. The sensation that it is done. Don't visualize the scene as one watching a movie on the mind screen, distant and cold. Enter the screen. Occupy the body of the person who already has what you desire. If you want health, in these 21 seconds, feel vitality running like fire through your veins. Feel the urge to jump. Feel the deep breath of a healed lung. If it's money, feel the texture of the paper, the smell of new leather, the heavy, tranquil security of someone who owes nothing to anyone. Don't use words if you don't need to. Emotion is the language. It's a silent cry of possession. It's a misappropriation of divine reality. You steal fire from the heavens and bring it to earth. You must raise your vibration to such a point, concentrate so much emotional energy in that short span of time that it becomes unbearable to continue. It's an explosion. It's the climax of the creative act. You don't ask, you become. You tell the universe, I am, and the universe trembles. And when you open your eyes after these seconds of total intensity, you should feel a kind of shock, a vertigo, surprised to see that you are still in this old, dusty room, because the reality you just visited in your mind was far more real than this one here. That's how you plant the seed, not with hours of supplication, but with seconds of absolute, penetrating certainty. Make every instant count. And now we come to the precipice where the vast majority of you plummet and shatter. It's the treacherous moment right after you open your eyes, as soon as the 21 seconds end. What do? I know what you do. Your human anxiety takes over, and you rush to check the result. You rush to look in the mirror. You open the bank app with trembling hands. You check your phone every minute to see if the message has arrived. And when your physical eyes, those deceivers, those servants of the past, tell you that the room is still the same, that the account is still empty, and that the phone is silent, you believe them. You say, it didn't work. And at that very moment, you have just aborted the gestation of your own miracle. Who is the master of your house? Are they your 5 limited senses or your divine imagination? Understand this once and for all or leave. Your senses don't show the present truth. They show the fossilized past. What you see, touch, and hear now is merely the hardened echo of old convictions you held days, months, or years ago. Physical reality is a delayed, stubborn mirror. If you smile at the mirror, it has no choice but to smile back. But if you wait for the reflection to smile first before you feel happy, You will wait in vain for all eternity. You are looking at dead wood and calling it a living forest. When you leave your moment of silence, where you touched and felt the reality of your desire, and confront the physical world that screams the opposite, you have a brutal choice to make. Who will you call a liar? If your imagination says, "I am loved," and your reality says, "You are alone," one of them is lying. There cannot be two truths. And I tell you, with the authority of one who knows the law, the facts are the liars. The physical world is the lie. The only substantial truth is what you felt in the depth of your being during the imaginative act. You need to develop the audacity, the holy arrogance, to walk through this world, ignoring the screaming evidence of your senses. If physical pain returns, you don't bow to it. You say internally, "That's just a fading memory, I am healed." If the bill arrives, you don't despair. You say, "That's just old paper, my wealth is infinite." This isn't madness. Madness is believing that the shadows on the wall are more real than the object that projects them. Don't be a spiritual adulterer, flirting with imagination one minute and going to bed with the raw evidence of the senses the next. Be faithful to what you saw in the dark. Deny the evidence of the senses with such scorn and indifference that reality has no option but to wither, break its rigid form, and remold itself in the image of what you, and only you, have decreed to be the truth. Now let's talk about the secret that separates eternal dreamers from masters of reality. The volatile ingredient that makes manifestation collapse in hours, not years. Naturalness. You can shout your mantras until you lose your voice. You can visualize until your head aches. But if the state you seek doesn't feel natural to you, if it seems strange, distant, or too grand for your small self-image, it will never manifest. The subconscious rejects the intruder. It spits out what isn't familiar to it. For the miracle to happen now, it needs to fit you like a tailored suit. Many of you confuse gratitude with supplication. You say thank you to God like a frightened servant, thanks for a vague promise, hoping to convince the master to be generous. That is repulsive. It has the rotten smell of doubt. The true thank you, the one that seals the contract with reality and tears the veil of time, is the deep sigh of relief. It's the heavy exhalation of someone who has just dropped a 100-kilogram burden to the ground. When the problem is solved, when healing comes, when money comes in, you don't run in circles shouting complex phrases. You collapse into a chair and say, "Thank you, Father." And you feel a peace that invades your bones. It's the peace of completion. It's the silent certainty that the struggle is over. During your 21 seconds, and especially right after them, the sensation that should permeate your body is not one of hysterical or anxious excitement. Anxiety says you don't have it. Exaggerated excitement says that it's a surprise, a rare miracle, something that doesn't belong to you. Wealth is not a surprise to the rich, it's their everyday reality. Health is not a miracle to the healthy, it's their natural state. You should wear your desire with the same naturalness and disregard with which you put on your old, comfortable clothes at home. There should be no effort, there should be familiarity. Mentally touch what you want with the intimacy of possession. If it's a wedding ring, feel the cold metal on your ring finger now. Twirl it with your thumb. Feel how familiar it is, as if it's been there for years, part of your hand. If it's the key to a new house, feel its specific weight in your pocket, tapping against your leg as you walk. Don't imagine seeing the key from afar. Imagine having the key. Smell the skin of your beloved next to you, not as an unattainable dream, but with the ordinary warm intimacy of someone who sleeps beside you every night. If you feel like an imposter when you assume your desire, you've already failed before you began. Naturalness is the acid that dissolves waiting time. The moment your desire seems as natural to you as your own name, as common as the air you breathe, is the moment it is already on its way, furiously rushing to materialize in this world of shadows. Make it common. Take the desire off its pedestal and put it in your pocket. Give thanks as one who already possesses, for he who gives thanks before seeing with the eyes of the flesh forces the invisible to become visible. There's no room for "will it happen?" There's only the relief of "thank you," because it already is. Do you remember the story Neville told about when he desired to go to Barbados and had not a penny in his pocket, no job, no prospects. He would come to me, full of human doubts, wanting to discuss the how. He wanted to talk about ticket prices, about ships, about logic. And what did I do? I slammed the door in his face. I went to my room and closed the door forcefully. I wasn't rude out of impoliteness. I was rude to save his soul from doubt. I told him, "You're not going to Barbados. You are already in Barbados, and you went first class." And I slammed the door. This is the fifth and final principle, and perhaps the most difficult for the restless Western mind, slamming the door. The don't look back. After you've performed the act, after you've spent your 21 seconds of absolute intensity and felt the thank you of relief, it's over. The work is done. Conception has occurred. If you become pregnant, you don't go back every 5 minutes to check if conception took. You assume it's done and let nature take its course. If you keep poking at the seed, unearthing it to see if the root has sprouted, you kill it. You abort the miracle. When you finish your exercise, get up from that chair and go live your life. Wash the dishes, go to work, walk the dog, but do all of this with the door of your mind closed to doubt. If the thought comes whispering, "But how will it happen?" you must slam the door in the face of that thought. If anxiety knocks on the door asking, "What if it doesn't work?" you slam the door in its face. You respond with the disdainful silence of one who already knows the end of the movie. Discussing the how is accepting that you're not there yet. One who is already at the destination doesn't ask for directions. Looking back is death. Scripture warns us about Lot's wife, who looked back and turned into a pillar of salt. Salt is a preservative. She remained preserved in that state of doubt, frozen in the past. If you look back to see if the signs are appearing, you freeze your progress. You petrify your old state. You need to have the coldness of a doubt assassin. You need to have the arrogance of God. Don't come to me with, "But Abdullah, reality is hard." I don't care about the facts. I care about the truth, and the truth is what you created in your imagination. The moment you emerge from the state of prayer is the moment of the final decree. It's like putting a letter in a mailbox. Once you've dropped the letter into the slot, you don't stand there trying to fish it back out with a wire, nor do you worry if the mail carrier will come. You trust the system. Trust the law of your own being. Slam the door. The universe is now under orders to rearrange the structure of reality to fulfill your command. Let it work and get out of its way. Raise your head. Breathe. Look around you one last time with the eyes of the flesh and bid farewell to this world of limitations, for it no longer exists, except as the empty husk of a cicada you've already shed. What we did here wasn't an intellectual exercise. It was a funeral for your old self and a coronation for the God awakened within you. You heard the truth that most men will spend their entire lives ignoring, begging at the feet of a blind fate, unaware that they themselves are the operators of everything that happens to them. Don't leave here and go back to sleep. Don't dare to turn this knowledge into just another interesting piece of information to gather dust in your mind. From this second, you don't wait for changes. You walk in change. You don't look for signs. You are the sign. The universe has no will of its own. It's merely a giant, obedient mirror, waiting for you to frown or smile. If you smiled internally in these 21 seconds, if you felt the ring on your finger, the money in the account, the health in your body, then the universe will move heaven and earth, break laws, and bend time to place that before your physical eyes. The clock is ticking, but not for you to wait. It ticks for physical reality to adjust to your command. You planted the seed in the womb of eternity. Now have the decency, the nobility, and the discipline not to unearth it with your childish doubts. It is done. Feel the weight of these two words. They are the royal seal. Live the next hours not as one who seeks, but as one who has found. Drink your water, eat your bread, and sleep your sleep with the silent, holy arrogance of one who knows that the Father and you are one, and that the Father has already given you the kingdom. And now, a final warning for those who feel that merely scratching the surface isn't enough. For those whose hunger for truth is greater than the fear of change, I have left a door open. It's not for the curious, nor for the faint of spirit who merely want temporary relief. It's for the creators. If you're ready to stop playing and start governing your existence with an iron hand and a heart aflame, access to the deep knowledge is in the pinned link below. But I warn you, don't click if you intend to remain the same. Now go, dare, and be silent. Everything that exists on this vast stage called the world is merely the reflection of something first conceived within the mind of a man or a woman. Every building, every fortune, every illness, and every cure began in the invisible, in the silent realm of consciousness. But the common person, blinded by appearances, believes that life happens to them, that they are a victim of circumstances, and thus spends their days trying to adjust the mirror instead of changing their face. They don't realize that the world is merely the shadow cast by their own imagination. And while battling shadows, they forget that they possess the power to create the light. I tell you, nothing changes externally until it changes internally. Nothing manifests until it is assumed as real in the mind. It is the law, and it does not fail. Reality is obedient to your conviction, but indifferent to your doubt. When you say it's difficult, the universe confirms it. When you say it is done, the universe also confirms it. Every thought is a seed, and every emotion is the water that makes it grow. You are the gardener of your own existence, and what flourishes or withers in your path depends solely on the quality of the seeds you choose to plant. Therefore, I am not speaking here of a trick or a magic ritual, but of a conscious exercise of your true creative nature. This 4-minute method is a portal, simple enough for anyone to do, yet sacred enough to completely change the course of your life. It does not ask for blind faith, but for absolute presence. 4 minutes of concentrated power on what you are and choose to be are worth more than entire days of worry. The world is not moved by effort, but by assumption. Everything you have already manifested, love, money, scarcity, joy, or pain, was the result of an inner state you accepted as your own. Therefore, the secret is not in doing, but in assuming. It is not sweat that creates, it is consciousness. And whoever understands this awakens. Today you will learn to use time divinely. Minute by minute you will raise your vibration until your imagination and your faith become one voice. When this happens, the external world will have no choice but to bow before the image you have created within yourself. Because what is assumed with conviction in the invisible, sooner or later, will become visible. In the first minute, abandon the world. Not the physical world, but the world of impressions that trap you. The bills to pay, the tired body, the gaze of others, the news that tells you what is possible and what is not. All of this is merely a delayed reflection, an echo of old assumptions. And you cannot create the new while still chained to the old. Therefore, close your eyes and allow the world to dissolve. Nothing else matters now except your awakened consciousness. Feel the silence grow within you, as if the air itself becomes thick, dense, sacred. This is the threshold between the visible and the invisible, the point where the Creator turns inward. Your breath is the anchor. Breathe in slowly, deeply, as one reconnecting to the source of life. Breathe out and release the weight of all the not yet. Each breath is a return to your true center, the I Am, the silent presence that observes everything but is untouched by anything. While the world sleeps within you, your consciousness awakens. And it is here that creation begins. In this first minute, ask for nothing, desire nothing. Do not try to force an image. Just recognize you are. This simple affirmation of I Am is the foundation of all manifestation. Before being rich, healthy, or loved, you must first be. The mistake of most is to seek a state without recognizing the very power that sustains it. They want the harvest without first recognizing the fertile soil. But when you silently say I am, you ignite the divine spark that governs everything. It is as if you are saying to the universe, here is the consciousness that creates. Let silence envelop you like a garment. If thoughts come, watch them pass without resistance. They are clouds before the sun that you are. Do not fight them, just return with tenderness and firmness to your presence. Feel that in this instant you lack nothing. Time, fear, haste, everything bows before this stillness. It is in this space that the invisible prepares to take form. It is like the soil before the seed, the womb before conception. And the deeper your surrender to this state, the purer the ground of creation will be. Allow yourself to feel something you rarely feel, the peace of needing nothing. Because the Creator does not desire, He knows. He does not seek, He allows. And this is the power of the first minute, to untie the knot of effort, to open the heart, and to let the divine breathe through you. Now imagine that the noise of the world is like the sea receding before a great wave. Silence is not absence, it is preparation. It is the universe gathering energy to manifest what is about to be born through you. The quieter you are, the stronger the creative impulse that will come in the following minutes. The world thinks power is movement, action, words, but true power is pause. Only those who quiet themselves within can hear the whisper of the I am. And in that silence, a subtle vibration begins to grow. It is the field where everything will be molded. Stay there, without haste. You don't need complex visualizations or formulas. The only thing necessary in this first minute is to remember who you are, pure, limitless, eternal consciousness. When you finish this first minute, you will not feel an end, but a beginning. A subtle lightness will envelop you, as if the body is floating. It is the sign that you have left the world of effects and entered the world of causes. And from now on, each minute will be an expansion of that presence. What was impossible will begin to seem natural, because by silencing the world, you have returned to the beginning, to the place where God creates all things, within man. In the second minute, when silence has already enveloped you, and the world has lost its power to distract you, it is time to choose the state you wish to inhabit. Here, you are no longer asking, but assuming. You are not dreaming of what could be. You are wearing what already is. Close your eyes again, keep your body relaxed, and turn your attention inward. The first minute opened the way. This is the moment to plant the seed. Everything that will come into your life will be the fruit of what you now choose to feel as true. Choose your new state with clarity. Do not think about the circumstances. Do not worry about the how. The law does not move by logic, but by conviction. If what you desire is prosperity, abandon the identity of one who struggles, of one who waits, and put on the identity of one who already possesses. Feel the silent relief of knowing that everything is resolved. If you seek love, abandon the feeling of loneliness and immerse yourself in the softness of already being cherished, chosen, loved. If what you want is healing, abandon the role of the sick and feel your body free, light, harmonious. Do not try to believe in it. Just feel what it would be like if it were true now. Imagination is the true creative act. When you imagine something as real and sustain it emotionally, the universe begins to reorganize itself to confirm this new assumption. You are not pretending, you are remembering. Because at the deepest level, everything you desire already exists, and only needs a consciousness willing to recognize it. See with closed eyes what you do not yet see with open eyes. Create a small mental scene that symbolizes the fulfillment of your desire. It doesn't need to be grand. It just needs to be real enough to involve you emotionally. For example, if you desire abundance, imagine someone telling you, "I'm so happy for you. I knew things would work out." Feel the warmth of those words. Hear the tone of voice. See the smile. Feel the pride in your chest. Do not strive to visualize every detail. What matters is the feeling of reality. Emotion is the seal of creation. It is the divine touch that gives life to the image. When emotion is genuine, the invisible begins to move. And here is a secret few understand. It is not intense desire that manifests. It is the rest in knowing that it has already happened. The person who pleads remains in a state of lack. The one who gives thanks in silence already possesses. Therefore, in this second minute, your task is to feel until the assumption becomes natural. Remain in that state as one savoring something sacred. There is no rush. Feel your body react to this new truth. Your breath becomes softer, your heart quiets, a sense of completeness overtakes you. It is the sign that your consciousness has accepted the new identity. From this moment, you cease to be the one who desires and become the one who is. And here is the beauty of this second minute. While the world still believes nothing has changed, the invisible has already begun to work in your favor. Circumstances, people, and coincidences will be attracted to support the image you have assumed, because reality is merely the mirror of your sustained assumption. Therefore, do not underestimate this moment. It is the moment when the impossible begins to take form. Sustain the feeling, even if the external world still seems the same, because for the Creator, the evidence comes last. The first sign of change is not what you see, it is what you feel. When the feeling becomes true, the world has no choice but to obey. In the third minute, all you need to do is sustain the chosen state with serenity and conviction. Now is no longer the moment to create or imagine, but to remain. It is the moment when the seed has already been planted and only needs stability, confidence, fertile silence. The human mind has a habit of doubting, wanting signs, seeking confirmations, but one who knows the law understands that the fruit does not appear the instant the seed touches the soil. It is necessary to rest in the certainty that the invisible has already begun to act. Here your greatest task is to remain inwardly still, even if the world screams otherwise. Feel the state you have chosen as if it were your new home. Do not treat it as something fragile that could disappear at any moment, but as something familiar, natural, inevitable. The secret of this minute is naturalness. When an idea becomes natural to you, it becomes inevitable for the world. Repeat in your mind a simple affirmation that conveys the new state. It is already done. I am what I chose to be. It is finished. Choose a short phrase but charged with presence. Do not repeat it mechanically like one trying to convince themselves of something. Repeat it as one speaking an ancient truth, as one recognizing what has always been. The power is not in the words but in the silent feeling that sustains them. As you affirm, observe any subtle internal resistances. Perhaps a thought says, "But this isn't real." Perhaps a memory of what still seems to be missing arises. Do not fight it. Just acknowledge it and return to the feeling of the desired state. Each time you choose to return to the feeling of fulfillment, you are strengthening the new vibrational pattern that will inevitably become your reality. Do not seek exaggerated emotion, nor strive to feel something extraordinary. Manifestation is not born of effort, but of acceptance. What you need is peace, not intensity. Creative energy moves in silence, like the growth of a tree beneath the earth. While your mind rests in the "it is already," the entire universe reorganizes itself to mirror that conviction. Feel your breath as a bridge between the visible and the invisible. With each inhalation, reinforce the feeling of the new state. With each exhalation, release any lingering doubt. Allow your entire body to participate in this new being. Consciousness is the conductor, but the body is the instrument that vibrates the new frequency. When both align, what was thought transforms into matter. You will perceive that in this minute, a different serenity emerges, a firm calm independent of anything external. It is the sign that your consciousness has completely accepted the new identity. You are no longer trying to manifest something, you are simply being. And this being is the point where all creation is fulfilled. Even if the world appears the same, something invisible has already shifted. Life will begin to react subtly. People will emerge, opportunities will align, doors will open. But all of this is merely a consequence. The true miracle happens now, the moment you refuse to return to the old state. Remain a few more moments in this powerful silence, savoring the certainty of fulfillment. And understand, one who sustains the state with conviction needs no haste, because on the plane of consciousness, everything already is. Time merely translates what has already been decreed. The one who rests in "it is done" becomes unshakable. Nothing disturbs him, nothing hurries him, because he knows, and knowing is the purest form of faith. In the fourth minute, it is time to return to the world, but not as the same being who entered. Now you awaken with a new identity, and everything around you must be seen through it. This is the moment when the invisible begins to take form. The inner creation is complete, and your role now is to live as if what you desire is already an inseparable part of your life. No longer try to make it happen. Simply act, speak, and react as someone who already possesses. It is here that the power of imagination becomes silent, natural, and continuous action. Open your eyes, but maintain the state within you. The mistake of many is to believe that the exercise ends at the close of meditation, when in reality, it merely begins. The world will test you, and appearances will try to tempt you back to the old state, but you must not yield. Walk among people as one who knows a secret others are unaware of. Feel the weight of your new reality in your gestures, in your words, even in the way you breathe. Your silent confidence will be the language by which the universe recognizes you. In this 4th minute, you don't need effort, but consistency. The consciousness you now sustain is the command the world will obey. Therefore, do not allow yourself to react as one who still waits. React as one who already is. If the desire was prosperity, do not lament its absence. Speak and decide as one who possesses abundance. If the desire was love, do not seek signs. Walk with the serenity of one who is already loved. If the desire was healing, do not look at your body with pity, but with gratitude as one contemplating something already restored. External reality bows to internal faithfulness. Nothing has the power to contradict a consciousness firmly sustained. That is why so many fail. They affirm a new truth for a few minutes, but soon surrender to the evidence of the senses. The law, however, responds to perseverance, not to haste. Manifestation is the inevitable consequence of a consistently maintained state. Think of this moment as the dawn of your new life. The night of doubt has passed, and now the sun of certainty begins to illuminate everything that once seemed confusing. There is nothing you need to wait for. What you desire has already been created. You merely live the unfolding of that creation in time. Every encounter, every coincidence, every door that opens is merely the answer to the silent decree you issued when you chose your new state. So rise calmly, breathe, and observe the world with new eyes. See in it the confirmation of your power, not the mirror of your limitation. And when old thoughts try to return, remember, it is already done. It's not a question of when. It's a question of remaining. What is assumed with conviction cannot fail. The 4th minute is the consecration of your new being. It is the point where you cease to be the petitioner and become the master. You no longer beg the universe, you command in silence with gratitude and certainty. With each step, reaffirm within yourself, I am what I chose to be. And as you maintain this feeling, everything that once seemed distant will begin to draw near, attracted by the magnetic force of your inner state. With time, you will realize that this method is not just a 4-minute exercise, it is a way of life. Every breath, every thought, and every reaction can be a silent affirmation of your true identity. When you understand this, the world becomes a docile mirror of your awakened consciousness. And then, finally, you live the truth that has always been yours. Nothing is outside. Everything is created within. And what you have assumed in spirit, the world cannot fail to manifest in form. Now understand, child of consciousness, that nothing outside of you has any power. The world is merely the reflection of what you dared to assume as true within your own being. All struggle, all despair, and all waiting are born from the ignorance of this simple and absolute law. The exterior is a shadow of the interior. When a person awakens to this truth, they cease to crawl in search of miracles and begin to command with divine serenity that their reality bow to the vision they hold in their heart. Do not forget what you experienced in these 4 minutes. They were not a common exercise, but a reunion with your creative nature. In the first minute, you silenced the world and recalled the power that dwells in silence. In the second, you chose the state you desire, not as a wish, but as a possession. In the third, you sustained this new identity with tranquil faith. And in the fourth, you returned to life as a new being, no longer someone who waits, but someone who is. Each of these minutes was a stage of divine creation, the same process by which God Himself gives form to the invisible. From now on, do not ask anymore. Command. Do not wait for signs, be the sign. Do not ask when, because time is merely the translation of what has already been assumed. Act with the conviction that your inner word is law, and the entire universe will conspire in silence to confirm it. Do not be deceived by appearances. They are slow but obedient. Remain firm, unshakable, and you will see matter itself bend before your faith. You are the temple where the invisible becomes visible. Everything you seek has already been given, and you only need to remember that the power to manifest comes not from outside, but from the I Am that lives within you. Nourish it every day with your attention, and it will sustain you in glory. Therefore, rise now with dignity. Do not beg for love, do not plead for blessings, do not seek approval. Silently assume the throne of your own being and declare, everything I seek is already mine, because I am. Live as one who already possesses, speak as one who has already achieved, feel as one who already is. And the world, powerless to resist awakened consciousness, will serve you with perfect obedience. Because so it is, and always has been. I remember well the night Neville came to me, carrying in his eyes the unease of someone who no longer knows who to turn to. He had tried prayers, sought advice, hoped the world would move in his favor, but everything seemed to remain still. He felt imprisoned by circumstances, like so many men who believe life is written from the outside in, as if they were leaves carried by the wind. I looked at him, and immediately perceived his confusion. He thought external conditions were masters of his life, when in truth they were only reflections of what he silently held within himself. Neville asked me, "What must I do to make things change? Where can I find the key?" I didn't give him vague promises or moral advice. I went straight to the point, as I always do. Listen to me, Neville. What you see outside is not the cause, but the effect. Not the root, but the shadow. The external world is merely a mirror of what you have chosen to accept as true within yourself. Nothing more. He frowned, as if he didn't understand, and I continued. You think you are hostage to the facts, but it is the facts that are hostage to the state you inhabit. As long as you keep looking to the world to change, you will remain its slave. But the moment you dare to assume within yourself the scene already concluded, life will bend to that decree. When you visualize in this way, Neville, you don't wait for it to happen. You order that it already is. And the world, which is nothing more than an echo, obeys you. It was at that moment that he began to perceive, not completely, because the intellect resists, but a spark ignited in him. I showed him that imagination is not daydreaming, not an escape. It is creative power. When used correctly, it governs all reality. And this, I told him, and I tell you now, is the secret that transforms existence. Everything you call reality is simply life as obedience to the internal state you choose to inhabit. When Neville, still incredulous, heard me say that the first step was to assume the end, he almost laughed. To his logical mind, that seemed absurd. How could someone live the result before any sign? How could someone declare as true something that his eyes did not see? He said to me, "But isn't that self-deception? Aren't I just lying to myself?" I stared at him in silence for a moment, letting the unease consume him, and then I answered firmly, "The lie, Neville, is believing that what you see outside is more real than what you can sustain within yourself. The only falsehood is giving power to appearances. The truth is what you choose to assume as already being yours. Life doesn't wait for proof. Life obeys the decree of a convinced heart." I explained to him that assuming the end was not desiring. Desire always points to the distance, to the lack, to the not yet. Desire cries out, "One day it will be." But assuming the end is completely different. It's retreating in silence, closing your eyes and dressing the scene as if it were a memory. It's feeling the embrace already received. It's walking through the house already acquired. It's hearing the voice that confirms what was so sought after. When the end is truly assumed, the soul no longer begs or questions. It simply rests in the accomplished fact. I told him, "Don't think about what is yet to come. Think about what already is. Don't ask for it to happen. Celebrate as someone who has already lived it." Neville, still resistant, replied, "But how can I believe in something I don't see?" And I answered him with the same clarity as always. It is not a matter of believing with your eyes, but of believing with your being. The tree doesn't need to wait for spring to know that it will bear fruit. It already carries the season in its seed. In the same way, you don't need to wait for the world to give you signs to know that the end is already yours. You are the seed, and within you the harvest is already guaranteed. I then led him to an exercise. I told him to close his eyes and imagine himself already where he desired to be. I asked him not to be a mere spectator, but a participant in the scene, to feel the textures, to hear the sounds, to breathe the air of that environment. Don't stay outside the vision, Neville. Enter it as someone who already lives there. Make the scene so real that when you open your eyes, you feel like you've returned from a trip, not that you dreamed. He practiced with effort, and soon the doubt came. What if I lose focus? What if I can't sustain it? I told him, don't worry about stumbling. Each return to the scene is like hammering the same stake until the ground yields. It's not an isolated act that creates, but the repeated conviction until it becomes natural. Sustain the memory until the heart no longer asks, but affirms, this is mine. Over time, Neville began to understand. The change didn't come from the outside in, but from the inside out. He noticed that, upon assuming the end, his posture changed, his words changed, his atmosphere changed. And when he already moved as someone who possessed that thing in secret, the circumstances of the external world rearranged themselves like obedient pieces. Then I said to him, do you see now? The end is not a distant promise. The end is the only true beginning. If you dare to live it within yourself, the world will have no choice but to bow before your conviction. That's how he learned, and that's how I teach you now. The first step is always this: assume the end. Not as desire, not as hope, but as memory. Live the scene as if it were already your story, and you will see that all life bends to the decree you sustained in silence. Neville didn't understand why I was telling him to despise appearances. He was used to looking at the facts, at the numbers, at what the eyes could measure. But Master, he said to me, if my pockets are empty, how can I feel wealth? If the door seems closed, how will I believe that it is already open? I answered him, that is precisely why you remain trapped, Neville, because you give authority to the shadows, as if they were the light itself. What you call reality is merely residue of what has already been created. It is the harvest of seeds you planted yesterday. But the man who wishes to change tomorrow must no longer bow before today. Learn to see beyond what your eyes show you. I showed him that appearances are deceptive because they always carry a delay. What we see is always the past. The body you have today is the fruit of states assumed before. The money or lack of it you have in your hands is the result of images sustained in another time. If you accept this as definitive, you will be imprisoned in endless cycles. I told him, when someone who is sick accepts the illness as their final reality, it consumes them. But when they dare, in the midst of the pain, to despise the visible picture and assume health, then the invisible begins to rewrite the visible. Learn this, Neville. Appearance is not a sentence, it's just an echo. He insisted, but what if the appearance shouts louder than my vision? I told him, then close your ears to the shout and open your heart to the whisper of truth. You are not called to fight against the facts, but to ignore them as one ignores a lie that has already been unmasked. The beggar on the street may seem poor, but if he assumes within himself the dignity of abundance, sooner or later the world will have to respond to him. The difference lies in which voice he decides to honor. The voice of misery that the eyes show, or the voice of wealth that the heart dares to assume. To make him understand better, I led him to a simple practice. I asked him, in the face of a limited scenario, to close his eyes and refuse the narrative he was telling. I told him, look at this picture and say, this is shadow, not essence. It is not my destiny. It is just a reflection that no longer has strength. Now choose within yourself the true scene and give it more credit than you gave to the world. Thus, little by little, he learned to give more weight to the inner vision than to the outer one. I explained to him that despising appearances is not denying their existence but refusing their authority. A king may listen to rumors in his palace, but he does not bow to them. His word is law. So too the awakened man. He may see limitations before him, but he does not grant them power. He sustains his inner order until the appearance, like a servant, bows. Neville, by practicing this, discovered something powerful. When he stopped reacting to circumstances and started treating them as empty shells, they began to change effortlessly. What seemed like an obstacle dissolved, What seemed like a lack turned into abundance because they no longer had anywhere to lean on. I then said to him, "Do you understand now? Reality is not what you see, but what you dare to assume. When you despise appearances, you free yourself from the prison of the past and allow the new state to flourish." That's how Neville realized that circumstances have no voice of their own. They are just reflections of a deeper decree. And so I say to you too, do not fear what you see, do not cling to what seems. The power is not outside. Learn to ignore the lie of appearances and to live the truth of the chosen state, and you will see how everything that seemed fixed will turn to dust before your conviction. Neville took a while to understand what I meant when I ordered him, inhabit the scene until it is a memory. For him, imagining was a fleeting exercise, almost like a dream that is visited for moments and soon fades away. I showed him that this is not enough. What creates is not the momentary fantasy, but the constancy of an assumed memory. I told him, "Don't visit the state as a tourist, Neville. Live in it as a resident. Enter and never leave again." He closed his eyes and tried to visualize the scene he desired. In the beginning, his thoughts scattered. His mind wandered to the difficulties, and doubt crept in like a thief. I interrupted him. "It doesn't matter if the world shouts the opposite to you. Your task is to sustain the scene as someone who remembers an accomplished fact. You don't desire, you don't wait, you remember." He still didn't understand the difference between dreaming and remembering, so I insisted. "When you remember something, you don't ask if it will happen. You already know it was. That's the key. Live the future as a memory and it will have no choice but to become the present." To make it clearer, I asked him to imagine a simple action, holding in his hands a letter from his homeland, announcing what he so desired. I told him, "Don't stay watching from the outside. Feel the paper between your fingers. Listen to the sound as you open the envelope. Read the words written. React as you would react if it were real. Smile, sigh, give thanks. Don't stop until your heart is convinced that this has already happened." He tried. In the beginning, it was just effort, but repeating something changed. His lips curved into an involuntary smile, his shoulders relaxed, and I saw in his closed eyes the spark of conviction. I interrupted him and asked, "What do you feel now?" He replied, "It's like I really lived it, like it's a memory of something that already happened." I confirmed, "Exactly, this is the secret. Imagination, when sustained until it becomes natural, engraves in the being a decree that the visible world cannot resist." I explained to him that the common mistake of men is to play at imagining for a few seconds and then return to the old state, as one releases the rudder of a ship in the middle of the crossing. But what governs is not the brief flash, but the insistence until the scene becomes second nature. "Repeat," I told him. "Repeat until your heart no longer asks for signs but rests in the fact, until when you think about it, you no longer feel hope but certainty, because at that point the external world has already been defeated." Neville realized that something inside him had changed before anything outside moved. That was the first time he understood that inner peace is the first sign of creation accomplished. When the scene becomes memory, the man stops fighting, stops searching, and just lives in rest. And like night that turns into day, life begins to respond. Thus he learned, and thus I teach you now. It is not enough to dream, it is not enough to desire. It is necessary to inhabit the scene with such fidelity that it becomes a memory engraved in you. Sustain it until it is more real than what you see with your eyes, and you will see the world bend without effort. For that which is already memory in the imagination has no choice but to become fact in time. Neville used to read the scriptures like most men. He saw in them accounts of the past, distant stories of characters he considered greater than himself. One day, I showed him the Bible open and said, "As long as you read it as if it were a record of others, you will remain blind to its true power. Each written word is a mirror of what happens in you. They are not dead stories, they are living instructions." He looked at me intrigued, as if he had never heard that before, and asked, "So everything that is written is about me?" I looked at him firmly and replied, "About you, Neville, and about every man who dares to understand. There is no past there. There is a map of the mind and law of life." I led him to a well-known passage. "If you believe, you will see the glory of God." He read that as if it were a distant promise, but I said to him, "It is not a promise, but an immediate condition. To believe is to assume the state. To see the glory is to see it appear in the world. There is no waiting, there is no interval. Scripture does not order you to wait for the favor of heaven, but orders you to assume the faith now, and the now will become form." He then asked me, "And when the text speaks of moving mountains, isn't that just a metaphor?" I laughed at his doubt and replied, "The mountain is your difficulty. It can be poverty, illness, abandonment, fear. And faith is your conviction that the state is already yours. When you assume within yourself that you have already overcome it, the mountain loses its strength. Not because it disappears immediately, but because the world does not resist the inner decree. And sooner or later, what seemed like an obstacle will be dust under your feet." So that he would understand, I gave him an exercise. Read the text as if it were speech directed to you, not to a distant character. When you read about Moses opening the sea, don't think of a man and a people thousands of years ago. See yourself before your waters of impossibility. The staff is your sustained imagination, and the sea that opens is the path that emerges when you dare to believe. Each passage is a code. Decipher it and you will see that Scripture does not narrate what was, but what is, and always will be. Neville was silent, absorbing. It was as if the veil had fallen from his eyes. He realized that the Bible, far from being a book of stories, was a manual of creative power. "So," he said, "each character is myself, in different states." And I confirmed, "Yes, Neville. You are the David who faces giants. You are the prodigal son who returns home. You are the blind man who regains his sight. Each narrative is your own inner drama. When you read it like this, no longer as a spectator, but as a protagonist, you will understand that the Word was made flesh in you." He began to practice this reading, and with each new page his faith ceased to be theory and became experience. Scripture ceased to be distant and became alive because each verse was an immediate order to assume the state. And I told him, "Just as the Word does not return empty, so too your imagination, when sustained, will not fail. For both are one and the same. Scripture is just the reflection of the law that already acts in you." Thus he learned, and thus I teach you now. Do not read the texts as a memory of a dead past, but as a key to your present. Each promise is a decree, each miracle is an instruction. See yourselves in the symbols, assume faith as a state, and you will discover that what you judge to be a metaphor is practice, and what you called history is your own destiny in motion. Neville had already understood the power of assuming the end, of despising appearances, of inhabiting the scene as memory, and of reading the Scriptures as a living law. But he was still missing something essential: constancy. For he, like so many, flared up with conviction in one moment and soon yielded to discouragement in the next. It was then that I said to him with severity, "Discipline is sovereignty. Without it, all understanding is lost like water between your fingers." I explained to him that the mind, accustomed to wandering, needs governance. It is not enough to imagine once and expect the world to bend. It is necessary to return night after night to the desired scene. It is necessary to deny, every morning, the lies of fear that try to steal your vision. You must be faithful to the state as a king is faithful to his throne. If you abandon the position, another will take the place, and the world will reflect your oscillation. He asked me, "But isn't it tiring to fight against thoughts?" I replied, "It is not a fight. It is vigilance. I am not asking you for desperate effort, but for serene firmness. When a thought of doubt arises, do not feed it. Return to the state you have chosen as one returns home. Discipline is not weight, it is constant practice until it becomes natural. The one who disciplines himself no longer strives, he lives." I gave him a simple example. When a musician practices, he repeats the same notes until his fingers move without thinking. So too you. Repeat the vision until your soul no longer needs to force, but naturally breathes the chosen state. And then, when external life tries to drag you away, your conviction will be stronger than any appearance. Neville began to practice this discipline. In the beginning, he failed. At night, he tried to dress the desired scene, but soon gave in to weariness. I told him, even if you fall asleep in the middle of the vision, you have already sown in the garden of the invisible. Keep going, don't stop. Little by little, the habit shaped him. He no longer needed effort to feel, it was enough to close his eyes, and the assumed memory enveloped him like a garment. I also showed him that discipline is denying oneself, not in sacrifice but in firmness. I told him, deny the old story, deny the old self that insists on returning. Don't listen to it anymore. Every time fear speaks, answer in silence, it is already done. Every time the appearance rises up, face it as a powerless shadow. Your fidelity to the state is what seals your creation. Over time, Neville became a master at this. He no longer chased after signs. He no longer allowed himself to be shaken by circumstances. His discipline made him king of himself. And I said to him, do you see now, Neville? Freedom is not in having control of the world, but in having governance of your interior. For he who reigns within himself will inevitably see the world bow before him. Thus I say to you now, without discipline, imagination is wind. With discipline, it is law. It is not enough to know the principles. It is necessary to practice them until they become your second nature. Make of each night your altar, of each morning your decree, and of each thought your servant. Sustain the state with fidelity, and nothing, absolutely nothing, will be able to resist your command. That's how I instructed Neville, and that's how I instruct you. All that seems solid and immovable out there is just a reflection of what you have chosen to sustain within. The world is not your master, it is your mirror. Neville learned to assume the end, to despise appearances, to inhabit the scene as memory, to read the scriptures as a living map, and to seal everything with discipline. These principles were not theory for him, they became practice, they became flesh. And the same can and must happen with you. Do not beg any longer for signs, do not prostrate yourselves before circumstances as servants of a reality that has no power of its own. Life obeys you always. If you are not yet living what you desire, it is because you have not yet dared to assume it with the firmness of someone who knows it already is. The world has no choice before a convinced heart. Therefore, stop asking, stop begging, stop waiting. Assume within yourselves now the state that you desire. Sustain it as someone who already possesses it, and you will see the invisible organize the visible, the obstacles dissolve, the doors open, not because the world changed of its own will, but because they obey the order that came from you. I tell you with the same force with which I told Neville, when you visualize like this, everything changes instantly. Choose today to live as creators and no longer as beggars, for you are already heirs and the kingdom you seek is within you.